All right, so recording this 2 o'clock, the 6th of June. Got me and Nolan, we back on the pod, but today, man, today's a special episode because today we got Brad from the Daily Knicks coming on to talk some Knicks and a little bit of the NBA. I wanted to speak to you, Brad, about just the season in general, just the surprise like the Knicks have gave us, the momentum, the city, the guide, and towards next season. You know how we're gonna move that to next season. How you felt about the season, Brad?
How could you be upset? How realistically speaking, how could anyone be upset based on the projections that the team had at the beginning of the season? Um, I remember thinking and writing more importantly writing about in December about fade hashtag fade for Cade or
Yeah.
whoever it was in the top five that we were going to be able to draft. And I was really hoping that, we were going to, I was hoping that we would trade Julius Randle
Oh,
for,
I wrote the same thing.
for a bag of peanuts.
Anything,
How
second
things,
round pick.
oh yeah. I mean, there was an art, one of my first articles in the month of December. I didn't even realize it, but I just started going through a bunch of trade scenarios, and it turned out that I included Julius Randle in each and every single one. And um, looking back on it, we would have been absolutely raped in every one
for
of those
sure.
trade scenarios. Um, yeah, like I said, you really can't be upset with what happened. I think what it all culminated, it all crystallized in the playoffs, where when you're playing a team and there's back-to-back games, there's games off, there's rested players, there's injured players, and so on and so forth throughout the season. We were relatively lucky with injuries. We had a few major ones, but ultimately we were relatively healthy.
Mhm.
You can outgrind other teams throughout the regular season, but when it comes to the playoffs, when the other team is grinding just as hard as you are, talent is going to win out. And it just goes to show that we just didn't have the talent, which we all knew in the beginning of the season, that we didn't have the talent. And like I said, I was talking about who we were going to draft in the top five, and God forbid we fall out of the top five. Now we're drafting 19 and 21. We just made the playoffs. We won a playoff game. So
Yeah,
you really can't be upset at all.
it's crazy, man. Yeah, I mean, I totally agree with you. I mean, like, no one projected us to be in the playoffs. We basically brought back the same roster that won what, like 21 games last year,
Yeah. Yeah.
outside of like the rookies and Noel and a few people like that.
Literally, it was. I'm pretty sure. I mean, beginning of the season, it was Burks, Noel, and then the two rookies.
Right,
Obviously,
right.
in January we also brought in Derrick Rose. But those
Rose.
were really the only major changes that were made.
And like as far as the regular season goes, I guess like the only criticism you can have is that maybe Tibbs could have handled the elf situation better. But I mean, if that's really the biggest complaint you have, I think we really just had a great season that exceeded every expectation. I mean, the playoffs definitely disappointing. If we win that game one, we come up with that steal and it's a 2-0 going into Atlanta. I think it has a different perspective, like a different light on it. Like, and even like I was talking to Hamza a little bit before you got on about the Memphis series, how they lost 4-1, and that has a different perspective as well. I mean, that's mostly because Jaws like balled out in his series, whereas Randall and RJ kind of disappeared in ours. But I mean, it's hard to be upset when we were projected with the lowest win total and like the most salary cap in the league. So I fully agree. It's been a really special year.
Special. That's the only way you can really explain it. It's just like a special year. When you think back at, like, for example, the 2012-2013 season, that was special too. That was a lot of fun for all of us. And
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's right around when I became a Knicks fan.
right. It's like having special players like Carmelo Anthony, having special players like Tyson Chandler, Amari Stoudemire, so on and so forth, a bunch of really good role players. But we expected a title,
Yeah.
when we expected, it's like if you told me in December that the Knicks would be picking outside the top 10, I'd be like, no freaking way. You know, like there's no way. Come on. We're gonna trade Julius Randle. We might be able to get like a Mook Morris deal where we trade him somewhere for like a late first round pick. That would be great, you know?
Yeah. No,
And,
I in my Daily Knicks article I wrote at the preseason, I said I'd trade Randall like as soon as we drafted Obi. I was like, that means we've seen the last game of Julius Randle in a Knicks uniform. I'd be happy to trade him for 2 second round picks. I was in the same exact boat as you. I mean, I think all Knicks fans were realistically.
yeah, I remember putting a trade together where it was like Julius Randle and something else for Mike Conley. Imagine that would have happened. Like,
yeah,
the Conley stuff was real hot at the time, real hot.
yeah.
And it's for me, like, it's interesting to see the Knicks play this year, because even last year when Mike Miller came and took control of the team, we played a lot better basketball. The ball was moving. We were defending way better than when we did when we had Fizdale. And coming
how
into
bad of a coach was Fizdale?
Man, he might get some interviews with Boston and Portland coming around.
That's
Shit.
insane. You know what it is? He's more of like, he is the type of coach you want when you already have stars, because he's not an X's and O's guy.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He gives you, he's a hype man, you know, he'll get you pumped up. When you have guys like, for example, with Boston, when you have guys like,
I was just thinking that, yeah.
And then, you know, literally, like, there's so many offensive possessions where it's like, give Jason the ball.
Right.
Just let him cook. Yeah.
You know, like, we have that in Julius Randle, but we just didn't have that for that version of Julius Randle last year, unfortunately for Fizz.
Yeah, the plan was to get Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, and when that didn't happen, they cleared house because they knew he wasn't the coach for a rebuild.
Yeah, and it's interesting, right? Because coming into the season, when they drafted Obi at that 8 spot, I was like, damn, okay, so I guess we really are going to replace Julius Randle at this point.
Because I think that was the plan.
Yeah, it was until he started balling out, right?
Yeah,
he proved us all wrong.
I think all that was the front office not wanting to make rash decisions, and they were going to try to see what they had in the team. And it's a smart move by Leon Rose in particular. If that guy doesn't win executive of the year, I'd be shocked, because he's just been tremendous in every facet of the term. Now, you know, he wanted to see maybe the first half a year, maybe the first year. That's why they didn't really make a lot of huge moves. He wanted to see what it is that he had before he started making some serious moves. So Knicks fans, get excited, because I think this offseason is going to be fireworks one way or another, for sure.
Yeah, I 100% agree. You know, talking about like the moves and stuff that Leon Morris might, you know, do, a few guys who came in through the summer: Alec Burke, Reggie Bullock, Noel. You know, all three of those guys, even though, you know, Noel has some injury trouble, they didn't play their best in the playoffs. Brad, how do you feel about extending them? What type of contracts would you give them? Like, how do you feel about that situation?
Yeah, I've actually spoken about this extensively, so I'm very, very well prepared in regards to how I feel about all these different re-signees and stuff. I mean, Alec Burks, had we won game one, back to what you were saying before, Nolan, like I said the same thing. I really do think, like, because we played a great game in game one, we didn't look that good, but had we went into game three with a 2, you know, up 2-0, it probably would have changed the series. Who knows? But going back to game one, if we won game one, who could you point your finger at and say that's the guy who won us the game?
Alec Burks, without a question.
27 points. And Derrick Rose kept us in game one, won game two on his shoulders alone, and, you know, looked really, really good in other games as well.
Yeah.
Reggie
Rose had a great playoffs.
Yeah, Reggie had his ups and downs. But I mean, I just think that he's just such a solid player to have. I think it's good to have him as the type of player that can play like the 2 or the 3 and start in a pinch, but I think he's much better utilized in a reserve role. So, I mean, my idea, and you guys can kind of, you know, obviously chime in on if you disagree with me, but I'm pretty solid in what I want the Knicks to do. What they end up doing, who knows? And also this has a lot to do with what kind of acquisitions they make, whether they make trades, whether they make signings and stuff like that. But I think Derrick Rose is a must keep for a number of different reasons. I think that he would come and stay on a little bit of a sweetheart deal. Maybe like a 1+1, $10 million each year, $20 million total.
Yeah,
Be
Nolan
able to
told
opt
him.
out of right. So Reggie, for no other reason than the fact that he embodies everything that is to be like a New York Knicks basketball player and just like a New Yorker in general. He's a Tibbs guy more so than anything, just the way he plays. So I think he has to be back. Also he does some like activist work. So he has a transgender sibling.
Oh yeah, he's great with that.
Yeah. He has a transgender sibling, and the sibling was murdered. And he does a lot of activist work here in New York. So I think that he would take a really, really nice, not a pay cut per se. Like I want to see the guy get paid, but I think that he would take less to stay here on maybe like a longer term contract. And I would love to have him back in whatever capacity. Now, Alec Burks has been great. It's just that I feel like what it is that he does can be replaced a lot more easily. And also the type of money that he may demand may be a lot more. So I think unless we don't upgrade on the wing on the starting five, like let's say we just go out and get a starting point guard, then you can keep both Alec Burks and Reggie Bullock. But if we want to upgrade on the wing as well, let's say with a DeMar DeRozan or whatever the case may be, a shooting guard, whatever it is. I think that Alec Burks is the most replaceable out of everybody, and I hate to say that because I love the guy. Now, when it comes to the center, it's a weird situation there because we did sign Norvel Pell to a multi-year deal, but it's also like team options, so they can opt out whenever the hell they want.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily know what his future with the team is going to be, but why sign him to a multi-year deal if you only wanted him just for like an insurance policy for the three guys that you have now? Maybe they like him. Maybe they like him a lot, and maybe he kind of takes that third string Taj role, which means Taj may not be back necessarily next year. I think Taj will maintain some kind of relationship with the team, whether it's on the coaching staff or whatever the case may be, or he may just be here. Really, the biggest question mark, in my opinion, and I'll end it on this. The biggest question mark, in my opinion, is the Mitch and Noel situation. Mitch is entering his last year of his rookie contract. He's a second-round pick, so therefore he's an unrestricted free agent. So we only have leverage this summer and then up until the trade deadline. After that, he can leave for nothing. So we need to figure out whether we want to extend him. If they give him 3 years, $30 million, I'd be happy with it. If they extend him and he takes something that we'd be willing to give him, Nerlens Noel will not be a Knick next year. And I hate to say it, but it just doesn't make a lot of sense because Nerlens Noel also just got a brand new agent. If he wants to get paid, there's no way. I mean, in this day and age, unless you have like a Nikola Jokic or Karl Anthony Towns or a Joel Embiid, like a premier center, you just don't spend that much money at the center position where obviously you can get, decent center play for $5 million in Nerlens Noel, nothing for Taj Gibson and nothing for Norvel Pell. You can actually get a pretty decent center if you rotate them correctly. So there's a lot of question marks going into this offseason for sure, but that's kind of where I stand.
Yeah, absolutely. On the center spot specifically, I mean, I think, like you said, Noel, no matter what, I think he's gone just because he already turned down that $70 million contract from Dallas, and I'm sure he wants to get paid every penny that he can this year. So I'd let him walk. I mean, I know he's a little banged up in the playoffs, but you saw him get exposed as a limited player. He has probably like the worst hands in the league. And like you said, we have Norvel Pell, and hopefully we can lock up Mitch to a reasonable deal. I also heard some rumors about the Pacers shopping Miles Turner, and I'd be super interested in that. Stretch five like that could really open things up for the offense. I guess the only person that I wouldn't want to see come back this offseason, and I really like him as a player, but just Frank, just because if we didn't play him this year with Alfred Payton as the starting point guard, I don't know why you bring him back just to sit him on the bench. I mean, outside of that, like you said, it's like all these players are great to have back, but just depends on how much money each one's going to command. And I think Derrick Rose will get a lot of offers, but I think he'll stay with Tibbs. I think Reggie is good, but I could actually see them going into free agency, maybe trying to replace him with someone like Lonzo Ball, or I know Duncan Robinson's a restricted free agent, but maybe throw some money at him. I'm sure Miami will probably match it, but I like Burks a little bit more than Reggie just because of the shot creation and like the ability to run point. But I mean, yeah, I mean, all these guys that are role players on the team have been so good this year that I'm not necessarily in like the camp of run this team back with everybody but Elf, but I wouldn't be upset to see pretty much any of these players back outside of like Frank and people that just didn't see minutes like Knox and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. The thing with me is that I feel like the center position is going to be, it has to be changed because first, like Noel injury history has been concerning since before he even got here. I've been concerned about Noel's injuries, and he's been knick-knacked all throughout the year, and he can't really handle big guys like Capella, Jokic. We've seen throughout the year, he has some disadvantages on the defensive side. Also, like with Mitch, I've quoted the Bryce Thomas contract a whole bunch of times, like the 3 years, $25 million. I feel like that's a good middle point for us and him. And him, yeah.
Who got that contract?
Thomas Bryant. I feel like they should offer him the same contract, 325.
I think that's low ball. I mean,
you think that's low? You think
you think it's about 10
years. Mitch is a much better player than Thomas Bryant. Like Thomas Bryant had that little bit of shine, but obviously, like now that Bradley Beal was I don't think he was healthy when Thomas Bryant was like balling out, if I'm not mistaken.
But the thing about that is though, like you gotta think that before he went down with that injury, he's been healthy. Tom Bryant been healthy, and availability is the best. It's one of the best things in the basketball.
But I mean, Mitch isn't like necessarily injury prone. I don't.
Bro, he's been injury prone every year. Well,
not any more than any standard big man outside.
Yeah, I think his injuries have been a little kind of like freakish. They're not like hamstring injuries where it's like a nagging injury, like a groin injury where it's like
knees, back, anything like that.
He's had ankle problems.
Right, yeah, but like you randomly broke your hand, you randomly broke your foot.
Yeah.
Weird stuff. The one Nolan, I don't know if you read any of my articles, but
I read some. Yeah, sure.
I've written extensively. I think it'd be an awesome deal if to touch on what you said before, Miles Turner, for a number of reasons, and I think he matches Mitch's defensive.
He lost like 2 games.
Probably better defensively in a lot of ways. The only way I think Mitch would be better is maybe just like playing passing lanes and obviously blocking jump shooters. He's just a freak of nature in that regard.
Oh yeah.
But like everything else, Miles Turner does better defensively. He's a better rebounder and he's a better scorer.
He's a better passer too. Even
he's a decent passer as well. He's got he's learned a little bit from Sabonis. So the reason I think that he would be a tremendous fit for a number of reasons is because obviously it looks like the Pacers might be looking to shed some salary and rebuild a little bit. Definitely. And he's making $17 million a year. I think that they wouldn't lose too much if they're just looking to reload and not necessarily rebuild. I think a trade of like Kevin Knox and Mitchell Robinson in exchange for Miles Turner would probably get the deal done.
Yeah.
And the reason being is because I think Knox is getting paid like $6 million this next year, and then Mitch is getting about 1.8. So what is that? 8 million. That saves them $9 million off the cap right off the bat. And then if they do decide to re-sign Mitch, they can probably get him for much, much less than the 17 million that they'd be paying Miles Turner. So, and then for us, he hasn't been as good of a shooter as of late, but Miles Turner can shoot a 3-ball. And I think,
definitely.
One of the main reasons why Julius Randle was stifled the way that he was in the playoffs was because they kept shading Capella over to him.
Mm-hmm.
And they could do that because we have Nerlens freaking Noel and Taj Gibson at the center, and they can't really stretch the floor at all. So I think a stretch 5 would be tremendous for next year. I would love to see that trade go down. The last thing I do want to touch on, there's not a shot in hell I'm okay with them paying $18-20 million for Duncan Robinson. No way. No way.
Yeah,
I think
not
that would be
interested.
such a silly move. If someone wants to go out there and pay him $20 million, because that's what he's going to demand. If someone wants to go out there and pay him $18-20 million, like I would so much rather give $26-27 million to DeMar DeRozan as opposed to giving 18 to 22.
I'm not a DeRozan fan personally, but
don't let Twitter hear you. Do not let Twitter hear you.
I'm the same. I was the same way up until this year. He was a stud. He was a Swiss Army knife. He did a little bit of everything for that team, and he had a tremendous year. Now, could you point a finger at the fact that he's going into a contract year? Sure. He's a really, really good player, dude.
He's a great player. I just don't know if the spacing is, if he's a good enough 3-point shooter for this team. I guess is the biggest question.
Yeah, plus if Mitch is going to be playing, I don't know.
But I mean, but you can get good shots in the mid range. He's great at creating shots, and like he doesn't have to be just threes. I mean, he's going to open the floor in other ways just by the attention that he'll draw if he is on the team too. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah, and then you bring in literally anyone aside from Elfrid Payton at the 1 that can shoot. You know what I mean? And then you also bring in, you have RJ Barrett, who shot 40% this year. Is he going to continue doing that? Probably not. But even if he declines to 37, 38%, that's still a viable shooting. And then you also have, Julius Randle, who can shoot. Again, is he going to shoot the 41, 42% that he shot? Probably not. Even if he shoots at 38%, he's still getting the job done, So we'll see.
Yeah, for sure. I wanted to talk about like the free agents that are coming in 2021, and some of them and a few of them that could help us, especially upgrade a few spots, like point guard and the wing. Some guys that I had in mind. Recently, I seen Kendrick Nunn get slander from the Knicks, talking about they didn't want him on the team.
God, no.
I don't really, like him either.
I'm kind of confused because he shot the ball pretty well this year. He shot 38% from 3. Put up 14 points, was backing up Gordon Dragic, could start a little bit. Definitely would be an upgrade from Elfrid Payton. I was kind of confused. I know, but
Elfrid Payton as a measuring stick because he's one of the worst basketball players in the NBA right now. Like one of the worst starters for sure, I could say.
Oh, definitely.
So he can't use that as a measuring stick at all. I don't know. I mean,
he won't be asking for a lot of money. So
I think he will. I think he'll want something like
because the stats you were just saying, he had like a fairly like impressive year stat wise, but I just don't think he's that great of a player.
I think he can get 16-17 million from somewhere.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm out. If that's the range, I'm out.
Yeah.
You guys think Dragic is a reasonable target?
Yeah, I was just gonna bring him up. He was next on my list. Very viable guard. Definitely an upgrade. Could shoot the ball.
Older,
toughness. But but he can still defend on a decent level from and his vision is still good. I'm down for Gordon Dragic. I don't know about you guys.
Goran, he's getting up there in the age. Like if I'm gonna go after a 35-year-old point guard, I'm giving Kyle Lowry $30 million for a 1-year deal.
I think Lowry, as much as I'd love to see Lowry, I think he's gonna have better options.
And I don't think he comes here unless it's a long-term deal.
Or we make like a move for another player to come with him.
Yeah.
And supposedly he wants to help out the Raptors, so it's going to be a sign and trade scenario no matter where he goes.
So
that kind of sucks. I mean,
yeah, that makes it tough.
I think honestly, as crazy as it sounds, I would love like a Kyle Lowry and DeMar DeRozan reunion on the Knicks. Or better yet, Kyle Lowry and Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, I'm down for that. Yeah,
incredible. Yeah.
That game 7 later is gonna be wild.
Amazing. That game's going to be crazy.
Right.
Another guy I wanted to bring up, pick your brain a little bit. Will Barton could come in, either come off the bench or start for us on the wing, shoot the 3. Could be a secondary playmaker. What are your thoughts? Because he, him in that Denver situation, Aaron Gordon comes along, the emergence of Michael Porter Jr. How do you feel, guys, about Will Barton?
I feel like he's a solid player. I just feel like he's got some health concerns. No, like he's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
often injured.
Right.
Depending on listen, for the right price, like I'll take anybody. You know, I was actually talking on my own pod a couple of days ago, and one of my guys brought up the idea of bringing Victor Oladipo in, and I was like, "Are you out of your mind?" He's like, "Listen, I don't think he'll ever be cheaper. If we can get Victor Oladipo for like $8 million on a 1-year deal, you ain't taking that risk. I think I would. He convinced me.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, for the right price.
And I feel like it's kind of the same way, you know, with Will Barton. You know, he's a very, very good player. Like you said, he can he is a secondary ball handler, which is really good too. He's you know pretty solid on the defensive side. I don't know. I mean, like I really feel like this is the time to really swing for the fences in a lot of ways. That's why I do. I mean, I know for a fact that there's going to be some kind of big trade made.
Yeah.
Whether it's to upgrade the wing in the starting lineup or obviously the point guard, I think is the primary position to upgrade at. Now, whether that's a huge, massive blockbuster like Damian Lillard or, you know, some kind of sign and trade for like Lonzo Ball, for example, who knows? You know, one player that I'm really, really intrigued about that I'll kind of, you know, I guess ask you guys how you feel about it. After the fire sale in Orlando, one of the players that I was shocked that was still on the you know on the team was Terrence Ross.
I like
And
Terrence Ross.
I think that he can be had for peanuts, and he's on a relatively fair deal. I think if Alec Burks walks and takes a bigger contract somewhere else, if we can get Terrence Ross for like a second round pick or a pair of seconds or something like that, like a second in like 2029 and then like one in like 2022, for example, or like the Philadelphia one that we have this year, something obnoxious, something like something that we don't need necessarily.
Yeah.
I think if we were to bring in like a Terrence Ross as like that bench 2-3 player, he put up 16 points a game. Now his shooting numbers are down, but I think that Tibbs is such a freaking good coach that no matter who comes here, they're going to set them up for success, especially when it comes to shooting the 3 ball. And then obviously we have a tremendous, you know, training staff, so he's going to get a lot better in his mechanics and so on and so forth. So how do you guys feel about Terrence Ross?
I love Terrence Ross. I've had him on my fantasy basketball team like almost every year.
Right.
I mean, he's lit us up and when the Knicks have been horrible this past, 10 years or whatever. But I kind of want, he's usually like in a 6-man role in Orlando, right?
Yeah, and I think we kind of take over that Alec Burks role if we did lose Alec Burks and we still
Right. I'm just saying with him and Quickly, I don't know if they could coexist on the court together. I just don't know if I think Terrence Ross demands the ball a little too much.
I think it has a lot to do with the fact that there's not really a whole lot going on, especially
That's true. That's true.
Orlando. He definitely does demand the ball, but at the same time, I feel like Quickly was playing a lot more off ball on the bench this year because you had Alec Burks and Derrick Rose doing the majority of the ball handling, whereas Terrence Ross isn't your best ball handler. Like he can bring it up the court if you need him to, but it's not ideal. So then Quickly would have more of like a facilitator role next year, which I would love for him to get a little bit more acclimated as a point guard, because I truly do think that, especially on a Tibbs ran team where you don't necessarily need that traditional, 8, 9, 10 assists per game type of guy, because you have, several ball handlers throughout the starting lineup. I think Quickly could be the starting point guard of the future. It's just a question of getting him more acclimated to that point guard role. And I think that would be a really good step in the right direction if you make him like a secondary ball handler on the bench.
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely agree with that. What do you think about him?
As far as the Terrence Ross, bringing him on the team and him coming off the bench and scoring for us would be incredible. I feel like his market on the trade, I feel like it'd be a little bit more competitive than what you guys are like saying. I don't know. He's a veteran in it. Yeah, he's been a veteran, been consistent with his scoring throughout the years. I feel like he'll have a little bit more traction from
what did the Celtics give for like Fournier though?
2 second-round picks.
Yeah.
I think it'd be something similar to that.
He's on an expiring deal. This is an Orlando team that's very obviously looking to rebuild.
But you got to remember that was a fire sale, though. It's not the off season.
Right.
Yeah,
100%.
yeah.
But at the same time, it's like you have to think this is a team they have no leverage because everyone knows that they're rebuilding. So it's not like, oh, we could keep Terrence Ross. It's like, no, you want to get that $13 million off your damn salary cap so that you can make moves elsewhere. And I think that he comes here, he goes wherever he goes for very cheap, in my opinion.
I feel that. Speaking of like fire sales and like teams that might be really changing things up this offseason, the Celtics are probably going to make a lot of changes, I think. And with that being said, I'd be really interested in a Marcus Smart trade. That way, like, I'm not saying as a starting point guard, but you could like really reduce Rose's role if you don't go out and get another point guard. And I think Marcus Smart would be someone you could throw on a player like Trae Young, like we saw. This was obviously an issue. And I mean, I don't know. I've been a big fan of Marcus Smart, and I don't know if he's going to be one of the players they try to keep with that core together. But I mean, as far as like players that are Tibbs players, Marcus Smart just seems like he fits that mold.
He would be perfect. He would be so perfect. Yeah. I think depending on the price, like I think they would have to, they would probably keep him as more of like a 2 more so.
Right.
Not really like a starting point guard per se. If they made like a massive move for like a big named point guard and then had like a minor move for like a Marcus Smart and then have him starting at your 2. So like, listen, I'm the biggest Damian Lillard fan there is. So let's just hypothetically pretend they make a massive trade for Damian Lillard, right?
I'd be so happy.
They had Dame. Think about it this way. Dame, let me just pull up the free agent centers for 1 second. All right, so you have Damian Lillard, Marcus Smart is your 2, then you have RJ Barrett as your 3, Julius Randle as your 4, Nerlens Noel as your starting 5, maybe, or like
you could pencil in Mitch.
I think Mitch would be included.
Oh, okay.
In the
but there's centers out there. You can find someone.
I mean, I'm looking at the list. It's not that appealing.
Yeah.
The only real appealing name here, like really, really appealing name, would be Jared Allen, but obviously he's staying in Cleveland.
And he's going to get paid over there in Cleveland.
Yeah, I hated on him when he first came out because he was so scrawny, and I hated that afro. But he's
stud.
Yeah, he really proved me wrong. He shut me up.
Yeah, you got Cody Zeller, blech.
No.
Lopez, Enes Kanter.
No.
Rashawn Holmes he's definitely staying there. He's getting paid big from Sacramento.
I think I'm not a big fan of him for some reason. I don't know.
Like Rashawn Holmes.
Nah, I like Rashawn Holmes. Rashawn Holmes go hard.
Nice. He's the second best player on that team, dog.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
You know,
and he's good. I don't know. For some reason, there's something about the like not being a floor spacing big.
I guess.
But I don't know. Yeah, he'd be a fit. He made what, like $5 million this year too?
No, he's gonna want a lot more next year.
No, I mean this year. I think.
He made nothing. Yeah. I mean, all right. So center to be determined. Let's say it's a combination of like Hassan Whiteside, Nerlens Noel, and like Norvel Pell, right? Just as an example.
Mm-hmm.
And you just kind of rotate those 4 guys. You have a starting lineup of Damian Lillard, Marcus Smart, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and then you have Derrick Rose, quickly, Reggie Bullock, Obi Toppin, and then whatever center. Listen, you upgraded big time.
Yeah, paper. Yeah, definitely.
And even like for center too, like I think it's gonna be a situation kind of like this year where they're just gonna kind of keep Taj as like, hey man, just like stay in shape just in case. Like, if someone gets hurt, whatever, and Tibbs will bring him back. So I don't think he's gonna go play anywhere else at this point in his career.
No, I mean, there's a joke out there where it's like, as long as Tom Thibodeau is a coach, for a fact that Derrick Rose and Taj Gibson will never be.
Yeah, it's worked out for us so far. I'll take it.
No, it definitely has for sure.
Yeah.
Derrick Rose's first stint in New York, it was like Hornacek was like, Clinton, can you please shoot threes? He's like, fuck no. And then he comes and plays for Coach Tibbs. Tibbs is like, can you please shoot threes? He's like, Coach, I will literally die for you, whatever you need. Like, whatever you need me to do, I'll do it. So, Derek, listen, I think that would be incredible. Marcus Smart would be a huge acquisition, depending on what we would do at like the point guard, like whether it's like Alonzo or whether it's like a massive Damian Lillard trade. I'd be down for that for sure.
What about Mike Conley? He's a free agent this year.
I think he's getting up there in the years. Like at that
he's 33.
At that point, I feel like I'd rather pay Chris Paul $120 million.
You think Chris Paul's leaving though?
Supposedly he's opting out. I don't know if he's leaving.
I think Phoenix pays him.
He's opting out.
Yeah, I think Phoenix pays him after.
It just makes too much sense. Yeah, 100%. I think he can max out at $146 million over 3 years.
Can you imagine that age?
God damn.
What is that? Let's do the math real quick. I'm not a whiz to divide that by 3. Yeah, that's $48 million a year. Unreal. Imagine 37-year-old Chris Paul making $48 million.
And people were reluctant to give him the contract with Houston. Shit.
I wouldn't have.
Yeah, me either.
He earned it,
Nah, he definitely did.
Norman Powell's out there too.
He's gonna be looking to get paid. I'm not trying to commit that much money.
Yeah.
They traded a lot for him. I would have to imagine that Portland tries to find a way to keep him for sure.
Unless Dame wants out, right?
Unless Dame wants out. So news flash, boys and girls. Jason Kidd, which was one of
I saw that.
Yeah, one of Damian Lillard's like preferred options, just took his name out of the hat. He doesn't want to coach Portland. So it's like a freaking soap opera. It's like up and down.
Yeah, and it's like I don't know if that's like, oh, I know Dame's not gonna be there, or it's like I think we only have one more year with that window, and then it's gonna be a fire sale, and I don't want to be there for year 2 of that. Year 2 of that.
Good point. Yeah. No, for sure.
But yeah, I mean that's definitely an interesting situation. What's going on in Portland? That's one of the more interesting storylines of the offseason, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, a whole bunch of question marks with that Portland team. It's gonna be, and also with that Portland team, you gotta take into context, like like Terry, the guy who got fired, Terry Stocks, he's been there for like almost a decade, and you gotta think like that voice has to get old at some point, right? And
he just hasn't got it done.
Yeah, for sure. And the personnel there too, we were talking about it before, Brad, like how, the combination of Nurkic, Cantor, and then you have Melo coming off the bench, like that defensively, that's not going to win you games. And Jokic, you saw what Jokic did against them, pretty much decimated them.
When Denver traded Nurkic, I was like, are you guys nuts? Like that kid's a stud.
Yeah.
Little did I know that Jokic was a megastar, in the making, but clearly they knew what they had in him. The fact that they were willing to let go of Nurkic to give, Joker the reins was just incredible. I mean, that guy is he's just like a freak of nature. Like, where the hell do they make guys like that? 7 foot tall, pudgy white dudes that like play the point guard, sort of, And
he's legitimately a point center. It's unreal.
Yeah, I was just telling Nolan, like, he's one of the best engines in the NBA. He's like Harden, he's like Luka, like he's just so much offense. It comes through him. It's amazing. He'll go through. He'll beat a playoff series with him, Austin Rivers, Capazzo. Give me Michael Porter Jr., Aaron Gordon. Let's go hooping. Let's go win us a game. I love that about him.
For sure.
It's funny because like, the stuff that just doesn't show up on the stat sheets, that you really just can't quantify. It's funny. Joker is the clear-cut MVP winner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And averaged like 26, 11, and 8 or something like that. Had James Harden averaged 26, 11, and 8, you'd say it was a down year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like I just feel like an assist from Joker is more impactful towards winning than an assist from James Harden, if that makes sense.
Yeah, agree. 100% agree.
A bucket from, how many times did James Harden put up 40 points in a loss? Whereas Joker will put up, 12 assists and 24 points, for example, but they blew them out by, 12. So
his playmaking, he can shoot from anywhere on the court. Like he's
Crazy.
just do everything.
And even defensively, he gotten way better in defending the pick and roll. He's not gonna block your shot, but damn well he's gonna be in position. You know what I mean? Like, shout out to the Jokic. I had texted Nolan, Brad. I wanted to get your thing about this. Who would you rather start a franchise with, Jokic or Giannis?
Ooh.
Right.
This was easy for me.
Today.
Today, like you got an expansion team and they told you could pick either one of these guys.
Joker or Giannis? Damn.
For the next decade, bro.
They're the same age, right?
Pretty close.
Yeah, it's pretty much same player. And no injuries with both of them. So it's like,
damn. I want to look at numbers. Hold on. If you had to start, Europe is taking over.
Yeah,
man. I can't believe I was telling Hamza this on the last pod. Like, there was a time where me and most Knicks fans actually thought that Porzingis was better than Jokic. And now I just look back at that. I'm like, wow, I was a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
I'm going to present you guys a question after this in just a second. I had this argument with my boy at work.
Sure.
All right, he's 26, turning 27. 28 a game, a block and a half. 11 rebounds for Giannis. 6. Yeah, I'm going Giannis.
You going Giannis?
Minus the fact, so he can't shoot a 3-ball to save his life, and I understand that. But what he does on the defensive side is just incredible.
That's true.
He averages a block and a half and a steal and a half a game, on top of 6 assists, on top of 11 rebounds. Puts up 30 a night. I'm going Giannis, but it's close. It's definitely very close. Now, let me ask you guys this, because it was easy to ask this days ago, and then the next day you probably would have changed your mind. So now that both of those massive games by both players are done, try to keep recency bias out of this. Who's the better player today? If you had to if you had to win a title within the next 3 years, let's put it that way, because these players are very far apart in age. Damian Lillard or Luka Doncic? Who's the better player? Who would you rather, if you had to win a title within 3 years or die?
Damn, that's a good question. That's even tougher than the Jokic Giannis thing.
I thought so, but you guys go first.
I'm gonna go Luka.
You going Luka?
Why?
He just has such a complete game, and I love the way that he can like slow down the game, and
he also averages almost 5 turnovers a game.
That's true. But he also has a 7'3" guard sitting in the corner for most of the minutes too. But
so bad.
I just think that as much as I love Dame and I love like his shooting ability, scoring, gets people involved and everything like that, I just think that Luka has more of he elevates his teammates more than Dame does.
Yep. And what about you, Hamza?
I'm gonna have to go with Luka as well. Luka, like his projection in the next 3 years is going, man, it's incredible. And what he's done in the league so far, and what he's done to the Clippers this season and last season, you could argue that maybe last season, if KP could play to 3/4 of his potential, they could have beaten the Clippers last year. You could have argued that. I think Luka Man, I think Luka has the potential to be the best player in the league for
the part that makes that question really tough, though, is the 3-year window. Because I'm not that Luka's not great now, but Dame's like in his absolute prime.
The only thing, I mean, they're damn near the same caliber player right now, except for the fact that Damian Lillard in the clutch is just worldly. And that's the only thing that really separates them at this time is the clutchness to me.
And also, I mean, like I said before, the one real knock on Luka when you pull up the stats is that he's very reckless with the ball.
Yeah.
He averages like 4.5 I think 4.5 turnovers per game for his career, right around there for this year as well.
You don't think that comes with that? That's the territory that comes with the engine, the engine of the offense like that.
I mean, Dame is too, though.
No, yeah. Dame averages like 3. Just I have Giannis' stats pulled up right here. He does do a lot of the ball handling too. He's got 3.5, 3.4. Okay. So 4.5 is per game over an 80 season is a lot.
I think that gets better with age too, though. I think he
I think it definitely will get better with age, 100%. You keep in mind the kid's 22.
Right.
So Dame is my favorite player in the league, by a mile. By a mile. There's no there's literally no comparison. Like Book is up there, Spida Mitchell is up there, but like Dame by a mile is my favorite player. So originally I was like, oh, easy answer, Dame. Because that was especially right after his double overtime game against the Nuggets where he just went God mode. And it was just like, really that. And then the next day, Luka, I think he put up like 42 and 14 or something like that. And they said that there were six possessions, 6 scores that were either not, how do I phrase this properly? There were 6 scores for the entire game on the Maverick side that were not scored by Luka or assisted by Luka. There were 6 baskets total. Everything else was either scored by Luka or assisted by Luka. That's crazy. Plus, like the fact that he's like a 6'7" guard and he's like a bigger body.
Yeah.
Gives him the ability to do a lot more playmaking out of the post where Damian Lillard really can't do that as much, which makes him really dangerous in that regard too. I think that the one real knock, like I mentioned, is the turnovers, but I think that that's something that does get better over time. And yeah, I changed my mind completely. Luka, 100%.
Oh wow!
And it hurts me to say it. Hurts me to say it.
I feel that, but yeah, I mean, like Luka, he's doing what he's doing this series too against Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, like 2 of the best perimeter defenders in the league. He's just getting buckets like whenever he wants, however he wants. It's just so impressive for a kid that age.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Switching gears. I wanted to touch a little bit on the draft. Because the Knicks, they got the 19th and the 21 pick, and they got 2 second-round picks as well. I personally, I'm in the camp of try to package those picks and try to get at 1 to 2 rookies. I'm not really a big fan of bringing in all those rookies onto the team, especially what we did in the playoffs. A couple of guys that intrigued me throughout the NCAA season. Corey Kispert from Gonzaga. He shot 40% from 3 his last 2 years. Great team defender. Not the best against 1-on-1, especially again, he got exposed in that Baylor game with those quicker guards with Mitchell and Butler. He kind of got exposed there, but he's a good team defender. Showed that throughout his years in Gonzaga. Compare him to more like a Joe Harris type. I like him a lot. Another guard, another guy that we could pick up, Josh Christopher, a real explosive guard, dynamic handles, which I think would translate greatly in the league. Great pick and roll player. It's gonna be interesting to see who picks him up. I think the Knicks have a spot for him on the bench. And the last guy that I've been talking about since the season began, Sharif Cooper at Auburn. I seen him on the timeline all the time now. Great vision.
He's small. He's
His defense is bad too, and mostly it's because he is small.
No, I agree. He's small, but the things he does off the pick and roll, his vision is up there with Cade and Snugs. He has really, really great vision. He's very quick. His speed reminds me a little bit of Kira, a little bit. It's gonna be interesting to see. He had issues with injuries throughout his college season. Didn't really get to see 100% what he could do on the college floor, but what he did play, he played lights out.
One I'm not saying I'm not a big college guy, I'll be honest with you, but I'm not, as far as like knowledgeability, but just the way you're speaking about Sharif Cooper, it reminds me a lot of like Kemba Walker and what it is that we all thought of Kemba. Like he was like, oh, he's like a shooting guard in a point guard's body. He's like a 6'1" guy. he definitely lacks size and stuff like that. And obviously, he turned himself into a 30-point a game scorer and an absolute all-star. So, I mean, we could see. Like I mentioned, I'm not the biggest on college. Like I actually enjoy it when my guys write about college stuff because it kind of forces me to learn a little bit more about the game. Like I actually did an article recently, centers that the Knicks could potentially target. I really do think if we do draft anybody, obviously depending on what goes on in free agency, but if we do draft anybody, and obviously depending on if Mitchell Robinson is traded or not, I think a center being drafted is a very, very high likelihood. Guys that I like, Isaiah Jackson out of Kentucky. He's a stud. I would love him at like 19 or 21. Who else is good? If Kai Jones were to fall to like 19, I think he would be a stud. He reminds me a lot of Miles Turner as well, and he can shoot. I think that would be a good good.
I actually just pulled up Tankathon while we were talking.
Yeah.
And they have Kai Jones going to the Knicks with at 21.
Really?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the mock drafts that I've seen don't have him dropping out of the top 15.
Yeah.
Charles Bassey out of Western Kentucky, he's a stud. He puts up numbers, and he can shoot the ball a little bit. So, and he's a bigger center. Like he's like 240, 250 pounds. Like that's not something we're used to. But he could also, he's a nice rim runner as well. And that's kind of, what the mold is that Tibbs likes in his guys, like defensive guys that can attack the rim. We'll see. I'm actually looking at a mock draft right now. I think the kid from Baylor, Davion Mitchell, would be a tremendous addition. I think realistically speaking, it'll never happen because of Tibbs, but I think he could start. I think he could start day one on a team.
I think he can start, but I don't know. I don't see him just because he is like he's gonna be 23 to start the next season.
Yeah.
And his raw assist numbers are good, but his reads aren't like that impressive. Like his assists are just like kind of basic one pass cuts. I mean, I'm writing this whole draft article, so I'm really into the Knick prospects right now. He is like a first step explosion, is really good. His lateral quickness, he's got a bigger frame. He's not a great shooter. I think he shot 32% 2 years ago, up to 44%, which is a huge improvement.
Yeah.
But I just don't think he's a top 10 pick. So I think he will. There's definitely a trade up target. I don't think he falls to 19. But I mean, I think we have the assets to move up if that is somebody we wanted.
Yeah. How do you guys feel about Cam Thomas? Because he's like one of the guys that is being projected to the Knicks pretty often too.
Okay prospect. I don't know. I would look. The draft is too deep in my opinion. I don't know. I feel like there's a whole bunch of guys. Thomas. I don't know. And talking about that Baylor squad. Yeah, talking about that Baylor squad, like I was telling Nolan the other day, like I think those guards are a little bit overrated in my opinion. I don't know. Yeah.
I like Jared Butler. I think that if someone got lucky and he slipped into the second round, which I doubt is going to happen, if he slips into like the top of the second round, the Knicks should trade up to get him.
Yeah. If it's a second round thing,
he'd be such a solid addition at like.
I'd with that Detroit pick if he was there. That's like that second round Detroit pick we have is like right at the top of this round.
Yeah, it's pick number 32. So it's the second pick of the round.
Yeah.
I mean, what we really should be talking about is out of the 4 picks, I mean, there is no way the Knicks draft more than 1 or perhaps 2 players.
Yep.
I think 2.
Whether it's trade up, whether it's trade out of the draft completely.
Trade for a player or something.
There's no way the Knicks come out of this draft with. I personally think they don't come out of this draft with more than 1 rookie. Mark my words.
Yeah, I agree.
I think maybe 2, just because Yeah. Just because I don't know what you package that Philadelphia pick into, and I'm not saying that guy even makes the roster or anything, but.
Yeah, I think that maybe because we're picking 32, maybe whoever's picking number 30, I'm not really too sure who it is. Maybe they those two picks for 30 and we get the last pick of the first round or something like that. We leapfrog Houston or Milwaukee, whoever the hell it is that has the 31st pick, and then just kind of take whoever we want there. And then, either we're consolidating the two, 19 and 21 and moving up in the draft and getting somebody, or just trading out altogether and using those two picks in a trade for whoever it is. Let's say we do trade up. How far up do you think 19 and 21 get us?
About 10.
You think 10?
No, I think below 10. I think it's definitely
like 14.
Yeah.
15.
I think 10 the highest, but I mean, you might have to include a player like Knox or something.
Yeah, maybe. Because they were talking about from 8 to 2. From 8 to 2, they wanted the pick and Mitchell Robinson so that we could draft LaMelo Ball last year. Now,
but that's a big leap from 8 to 2, though. Like big, like in terms of like the talent difference.
Talent level, yeah, I guess. I mean, it was a foregone conclusion that Charlotte was going to take LaMelo had he dropped to 3, and we would have had to. I mean, that would have been the Warriors kind of like taking advantage of us at that moment in time. Like, yeah, give us Mitch, give us Mitch at number 8. Whatever.
And I think it's important to, look at Tibbs' track record with rookies. If we do bring in more than one rookie, where are they going to play, right? Yeah. Look how he treated Quickly. Look how he treated Obi. I know Quickly got minutes, but not as much.
Quickly played way more than I ever expected him to.
Yeah, but he definitely should have played more.
It took a month and a half.
Yeah.
For him to get real minutes. It took Obi till the playoffs to like eclipse 15.
The Obi, I give him a little bit more like slack for just because Julius played so well. Yeah. But still, he should have seen more minutes.
At the same time, it literally what it is? You know what I like about Obi? And I hate to say this, but I really don't think he's going to be a Knick for very long.
Probably not.
I hate to say that because I think
because I really like Obi.
Yeah, I know. I do a lot. Over the last like month and a half, 2 months, like you just saw him. He was like, all right, well, I can't really score the ball that effectively right now in this offense, so I'm going to just try my best to contribute any way possible. And that's what he did. And he just started getting better and better as time went by, to the point where in the playoffs, Tibbs trusted him with like 12, 14 minutes a game, which was incredible to see,
Yeah.
How do you feel about him, Obi and Randall playing together next year?
I could see it.
I'd like to see it. I don't know if Tibbs will do it.
It depends. It depends on Julius and who he'd have to guard at the 5. If it's nobody like, all that crazy and like someone that's going to put you out of a game like a Joel Embiid, for example, then sure. I don't see a reason why not, and not for starting, but
no. But yeah, that's what made the Hawks series so frustrated, is that we decided to go big whenever they put Collins at the 5.
Right. Yeah. I don't see an issue at all.
What do you guys think about? I'm thinking of like possible trade up targets. What do you guys think about Moses Moody if he falls down?
I'm not too familiar with him, I'll be honest.
He's just a guard. SEC freshman of the year. He moves really well without the ball. He's a great defender, and he can draw fouls. He's like he has 7. He's a great offensive rebounder, has 70.3% putbacks on those offensive rebounds. And I just think he's like a really good fit for what Tibbs looks for in a guard. I think him and Jaden Springer and who else did I have on here? Sharif Cooper are like the 3 guards that I'd love to see the Knicks go after in the draft.
I mean, who I like, and you guys might oppose me because of maybe not. I would love Jalen Suggs. I don't personally think that we'd have enough assets to move up to get him.
That's my thing, yeah.
But I think like Jalen Suggs would be a tremendous fit on this team. Jalen Green also.
Yeah,
Jalen's great. Yeah,
that's a better version of Anthony Edwards to me.
Yeah.
Have you guys watched any of the G League Ignite games this year?
When I can catch them 100%. It's just a question of
I love that Jarrett Jack is out there with these kids.
Yeah. Jared
Yeah.
Jack.
Oh, wait, quick question I've always wanted to ask Knicks fans. Would Jarrett Jack this year be better than Alfred Payton?
Yes, 100%. At least he could shoot the ball. He doesn't even have to move. He could just shoot the ball. We're good.
What the hell happened to Alfred Payton, though? I mean, I just, you know what it is,
He
though?
got it in his head.
It's. I think it's more of like his fit on this team was just really bad because Alfred Payton's not that bad of a player. Like I've seen him
Last year, he played pretty well.
like 7 assists a game, 4 or
That's what
5
I mean.
rebounds,
I
11.
know Tibbs wants your point guard to attack the basket, attack the basket, but you got to do other things too. You can't just have tunnel vision and miss RJ in the corner like 4 times a game.
And he's just such a like a liability on offense where like they literally ignore him. He's standing out on the perimeter and they ignore him. Like, please give it to Alfred Payton. Please give it to Alfred Payton.
Yeah.
Let him shoot the ball. That's a terrible player to have. But I think that if you put him on like a second unit that's like chock full of scorers and shooters, I think he'd be a lot better. Because
I think he's better off the bench as well.
I think he's far better suited. I remember I used to play like a lot of FanDuel back in the day, and when he and Julius Randle were both with New Orleans, and Davis went down with an injury, both of them were triple-double machines. Both of them, especially Alfred Payton.
Yeah, he had like 3 or 5 that year, I think.
Like all the time, like that stretch of games where like I had him for like peanuts on the FanDuel thing, and he put up so many freaking points for me. So he's not a bad player. It's just like it's definitely the circumstance that he was put into for sure.
Definitely. I think towards the end of the year too, that like he heard all the criticism, and you saw like especially the last stretch and even in the playoffs, he was going out and he was just looking to put up points to like shut people up and like forcing bad shots rather than like just playing that role that this team needed from him. And like you said, maybe that's part of the personnel, but he played there were stretches, there were games, at least in the regular season, where you'd see him score like 20 points and he'd actually make some baskets. And like he just lost. I don't know what, it's like a Space Jam when they suck the powers.
I said that. I was Randall just like Space Jam Alfred Payton, like take everything out of him completely.
Legitimately. And I'm fine with that trade-off.
I don't remember who it was. I think it may have been Jeremy Cohen, but I'm not sure. Like somebody just said that Alfred Payton plays well about every 3.5 games, so that just enough to keep his starting job. He plays well.
Yeah,
games, and that's it.
Yeah,
and that's what keeps him starting. But
hopefully he has a decent title run next year with the Beijing Tigers.
Yeah. he's gonna get signed to 100 million yen contract with the Shanghai Sharks. If you guys weren't aware, 100 million yen actually translates to about $12 US.
Yeah.
So he'll crush it there for sure. I mean, listen, if Jeremy Lin could absolutely annihilate that league, Alfred Payton would be like Duncan. He would be Michael Jordan for sure.
For sure. Real quick, before we let you go, don't want to take up too much of your time. I wanted to talk about one playoff series that really caught me and Nolan's eyes is the Lakers and Suns. And with the LeBron, LeBron coming back from that groin injury, AD having himself a groin injury, and trying to come back, couldn't come back. The role players, Schroeder didn't play well. Caruso, lackluster. A lot of the guys play lackluster. As far as the future with the Lakers, how do you feel, man? Because Laker Nation is probably just as big as Knicks. Knicks fans. Like, how do you feel?
I mean, the fact that they weren't able to secure Schroeder is big. Not that he played well in the playoffs at all. I mean, he was absolutely god awful in the playoffs. I think their window to win a championship is slim, and I thought it was slim before the season started.
Yeah, like 2 more years probably.
I think LeBron's just going to finish out his contract, and then wherever his son gets drafted, he's just going to play his rookie season with his kid and call it quits. I don't think it's not that he doesn't care. Of course he wants to win. It's just like when you have other teams that are putting together super teams like the Nets, for example, where it's just like they're just cheating the system almost to an extent. It does get hard. But again, listen, you can realistically thank LeBron for all this stuff because he's really the one who started this. Like, hey, let me go get my best friends, aka the best players in the world, to kind of team up with me and go win titles. So it is what it is.
One thing about that series too, this Lakers Sun series, and we're just talking about Alfred Payton playing in China. If you can go to China and figure out whatever the hell Cameron Payne figured out, I mean,
hell yeah.
How surprising has Cameron Payne been?
Man,
Campaign was bad. Campaign was really bad for a while, and then all of a sudden he's just.
And I haven't watched him much this year until we played the Suns, and he started like lighting us up. And I remember talking to Hamza. I was like, I'm okay with like anyone else beating us, but like I can't have Cameron Payne flipping being the player who beats us. It just was frustrating.
I remember.
That's definitely rough.
Remember, he was a lottery pick too from Morgan State.
Yeah, high pedigree. So was Peyton. So I don't know. I mean,
yeah.
True. Yeah, I mean, just in regards to the Lakers, I feel like the Anthony Davis injury really kind of just solidified everything.
I mean, you see all those bubble teams struggling now. I think Denver's the only one left that was in the.
You knew there was a problem. Finals. You knew there was a problem when T.J. Warren looked like Kobe Bryant.
I was so sold on T.J. Warren earlier on, and then, I mean, he's been hurt, so it's hard to like knock him too much. But yeah,
you wanted him on the Knicks, man.
Yeah, but that was when I thought we were a lottery team and we could take a flyer on them.
Yeah.
And that once we actually had success, I
could see a trade. I just don't want to. I don't want to pay. I don't want to pay the price that it would take to get bubble TJ Warren because I think that was just
right.
But I would love him. I would love him on the Knicks for sure. I think.
Yeah. Again, it all comes down to contracts, but yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely has the potential to be a Alec Burks upgrade, right?
I think it's a starting wing more.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I think it would be great. And now that he can shoot, forget about it. To think about this though, like he was playing well, and then he had that bubble performance, and then everyone was talking about how the Phoenix Suns literally traded him for cash.
Oh yeah. I remember that, right? Yo, shout out to James Jones, right? That's the GM or James John. I forgot his name.
I'm not sure.
I'm bad with that. But regardless, the new GM who took over, number one, he continued on from the success they had on the bubble. Was able to get Jay Crowder. Was able to continue the development of Bridges and Cam Johnson. Identified Cam Johnson as a talent. And decided, you know what? I don't care what anybody thinks. I'm going to go reach for him. Shout out to him. You know, that takes balls, especially for a new GM and a losing situation with the Suns, which they have been, you know, for numerous years. And the Chris Paul gamble. You got to remember, before, you know, even though he did play well in OKC, people still saw that contract and then think maybe he had a fluke year. You know, those rumors were out there, and he said, "Fuck that. I'm going to take a chance, and we're going to continue building on." Which I thought was pretty dope from the.
I mean, it's working out.
Yeah. And Jay Crowder was another target of mine in the offseason as well. I think he was like a really, really sneaky hire, signing rather. And I was really jealous when the Suns got him. And, you know, it's proven correct, you know.
Yeah, him and Bogdan were definitely two people I was looking at. But I also wanted Bertans, and he looks like ass this year.
Taki. Yeah. James Jones from the Miami Heat. Here's the 3-point sniper.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
He is the general manager of the Phoenix Suns. Lo and behold, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh shoot, I didn't realize this.
I didn't know that.
Same. I didn't know it was the same name. I knew it was the same name, but didn't realize it was the same person. You know, it was like we had that assistant coach Mike Miller, and I thought it was like that Mike Miller.
Mike Miller.
Yeah, and I was wrong on that, so I just assumed I was wrong on this one too.
No, because when they did hire him, it was kind of like a head scratch. I remember thinking like, yeah, LeBron got some pull, and hooking his homies up with jobs, hooking his homies up with jobs and shit. Like, damn, that's what's up. But he actually has a brain on him, and has been a positive, kind of like what Leon Rose has done to us. You know, he's been really positive over there in Phoenix and changing that franchise around. Yeah. And it looked like Booker was going to leave, a year or two ago before all of this, and now that's definitely not the case. We gotta look. Yeah.
All right, but hey, man, Brad, we don't want to take up too much more of your time. Now you got to run. So, Before we go, is there any I know you're at Daily Knicks, fan sided, anything you want to plug?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, just you know, just my personal Twitter would be cool. Obviously, you know, thank you guys for having me on. It was an absolute pleasure. Had a lot of fun for sure. You know, Nolan wasn't with us at Daily Knicks for a little while. Obviously, you're back on board now, which is great. Very excited to get more stuff out of you. Obviously, you can find me at you know, at Daily Knicks FS, dailyknicks.com with the under the fan sided network, and you can follow me on Instagram or Twitter at Brad Dressler 24.
All right, awesome, man. Pleasure having you on. Hopefully we can talk to you again sometime this offseason.
Sweet, 100%. I'm all for it.
Take it easy, buddy.
Take
Take
it
care.
easy.
Bye bye.